Good evening. Tonight, let me take you on a magical journey through grains of sand, tiny creatures that, despite their size, carry with them great historical stories. Have you ever thought that each grain of sand you see, each gust of wind blowing across the desert, is a witness to millions of years of cosmic upheaval? These grains of sand are not just simple grains. They are vibrant memories of time, of the constant changes on this planet. Let's explore the deep secrets within each grain of sand, from ancient storms to the collisions of nature. I promise that through this story, you will realize that in this simplicity, there exists a marvelous and meaningful world. Don't forget to subscribe to the Smart Sleep channel so you won't miss such fascinating moments of exploration. Let's relax and begin tonight's journey. Every grain of sand in your hand, no matter how small, carries with it an endless story, a miraculous journey that not everyone can see. Have you ever stopped and wondered, what mysteries, what imprints of Earth's history do the grains of sand you often see on beaches or in deserts hold that you can't possibly imagine? Each grain of sand is a puzzle piece in the vast canvas of the universe, a witness to the enormous changes in nature over millions of years. And when you touch a grain of sand, you're not just touching a piece of land, but a part of the history of this planet. Try to imagine, in ancient times, when Earth was still young, colossal mountains and vast oceans were still forming. Sandstorms, continental collisions, and mighty rivers were already breaking apart rocks and gradually wearing them down into tiny grains of sand. These grains, having passed through countless natural events, from massive sandstorms to ocean waves crashing onto shores, have slowly shaped the world we know today. Grains of sand are not just harmless dust. They are witnesses to Earth's ongoing process of survival and transformation. With each small grain of sand, we can imagine its story. The story of a long journey, filled with hardships and miracles. You can picture how a grain of sand might have traveled thousands of miles, from towering mountains to vast plains, across fierce storms and endless oceans, finally resting on a peaceful beach, where the waves gently lap at it. In this way, each grain becomes part of the never-ending natural process, carrying the marks of every change in the world. But there's an even greater wonder. Every grain of sand carries the mark of life. Did you know that within these grains of sand, though they may look unremarkable on the surface, there could be tiny microorganisms, fragments of creatures that lived millions of years ago? Each grain is not just a part of the earth, but also a memory of nature, holding the imprints of past lives. So, when you look at a grain of sand, you're not just looking at an inanimate fragment of land, but at a long story of life and death, rebirth and transformation. Thus, grains of sand become witnesses to the great changes in Earth's history. You can see, for example, how terrifying earthquakes, mysterious volcanic eruptions, or powerful climate shifts are etched into each grain of sand. They bear the traces of time, of irreplaceable historical moments, and serve as proof of nature's unbroken existence. Even if humanity has long forgotten those events, sand, in its silence, stands as a witness to a glorious past that we can only uncover through these tiny grains. This creates a very special feeling. We, the people living on this planet, sometimes feel so small before the vastness of the universe. But through these grains of sand, we realize that no matter how tiny we are, everything, every object on this earth has a role, a certain value in the bigger picture. A grain of sand may not change the world, but it is part of it, and it contributes to the grand story of this earth. Try closing your eyes for a moment and imagine If you were a grain of sand, where would you go? What would you witness? How many monumental events would you experience? And how would you witness the changes in nature? Could you ever feel that you could tell a long story about everything you've gone through, everything you've seen and felt? Each grain of sand is an untold story, a journey full of challenges and miracles that you might easily overlook unless you stop to listen. And then, when you open your eyes, you'll realize that each grain of sand is part of us, a symbol of the changes, the ongoing journeys that we are also participating in every day. Every step we take, every decision we make, no matter how small, contributes to the grand story of our own lives, just as grains of sand shape deserts, beaches, and the beautiful landscapes we can admire. So, every time you see a grain of sand, don't rush past it. Take a moment to imagine the journey it has been through, the things it has witnessed and felt. For each grain, no matter how small, carries an endless story, a miraculous tale that can only be understood when we listen with our hearts. A grain of sand, though merely a part of nature, is also a part of us, a part of history, and an irreplaceable part of this grand journey of the universe. As night falls, when the lights grow dim, and as you prepare for sleep, think about the grains of sand. These grains will gently settle into your soul, bringing reflections on time, on life, on the unceasing changes, and thus you'll drift off to sleep peacefully, serenaded by the miraculous stories that grains of sand bring. These stories will lull you into dreams, and within them, you will see the wonders of the universe, the eternity of nature, and the connection between all of us, grains of sand in a vast world. So, as you immerse yourself in thoughts about the miracle and eternity of grains of sand, let's continue following their journey from their first moments of formation, when they were born under the harsh conditions of nature. Have you ever wondered how a grain of sand begins its journey? They're not just fragments of nature, but the result of a long and challenging process. Millions of years in the making, through countless storms, through geological changes. As we know, grains of sand don't exist randomly. Each grain is part of a complex natural cycle, starting from massive rocks and solid boulders. Can you imagine these boulders, after millions of years, undergo the erosion of water, wind, and weather, slowly being worn down into small fragments? Rainstorms, powerful rivers sweeping through the land, carry these small rocks, extending the journey of these grains of sand from towering mountains to distant valleys. The journey of a grain of sand is not always easy. You may never have thought about this, but each grain has gone through many challenges and upheavals before reaching its current position. It might have once been buried deep beneath the earth, hidden under heavy layers of rock, waiting millions of years for an opportunity to break free. It's a long, difficult journey where time never stops acting, grinding them down until they become small, soft grains that can easily move under the force of wind and water. This process of formation, from large boulders to tiny grains of sand, is like a miracle of nature. It's not just a transformation of matter, but a transformation of time. You can picture a stone, a solid boulder, once part of a colossal mountain, but through time, through natural forces, these boulders are gradually eroded, turning into small grains of sand that float lightly in the air. It's a slow but relentless process, much like our lives, where we sometimes have to face challenges to become part of something greater. This erosion process begins when elements like rain, wind, and temperature impact the surface of rocks. Rain can create cracks in the rock, and wind blows hard, peeling off small layers from the surface. Over time, These layers continue to erode, and the wind carries them away, forming the first grains of sand. As these grains move, they collide with each other, wearing them down even more, making them smaller and rounder, like tiny marbles in your hand. And so, the grain of sand is born, little by little, as part of nature's constant transformation. What's interesting is that, through this process, grains of sand are not just fragments of rock, but they carry the traces of everything they've gone through. These grains can contain different minerals, depending on the type of rock they originated from. You can find grains of sand in different colors, from bright yellow to red, black, or even transparent ones. These colors are not just reflections of light, but are marks of the geological processes they've undergone. Each grain of sand has its own color, its own unique feature, just like each one of us, with our own story to tell. When these grains are created, they don't just sit still. They begin their journey of movement, carried by the wind, rivers, or even human influence. Strong winds across the desert, powerful waves on the beach, help the grains of sand travel from one place to another. In this way, the grain of sand never stops moving, never stops exploring the world around it. A grain of sand might start its journey from a high mountain, slowly passing through vast plains, crossing rivers, and finally resting on wide beaches, where the waves greet it. But this journey isn't a straight path. It's a never-ending voyage, full of twists, turns, challenges, and difficulties. And each grain, when it reaches its final destination, whether on a beach or in the desert, continues to serve as a witness to a grand natural process. Even if they are carried away or buried, each grain of sand carries the story of creation, of the never-ending transformation of nature. You can see, grains of sand are the combination of persistence and movement, of stillness and change. Through this, each grain is not just part of a large ecosystem, but part of life itself, part of the natural story that we may never fully understand. Grains of sand are not just tiny objects you see on beaches. They are small stones, marks of time and space, irreplaceable parts of the giant picture of this planet. They are living proof of the great changes Earth has undergone and will continue to experience in the future. When you look at a grain of sand, remember that it is not just a lifeless speck of dust, but a part of life, of nature, and of the vast world you are living in. And so, you can also feel that, in this life, we are like grains of sand, those small and unable to witness every change in a lifetime. Every moment we live is part of a grand journey, where each step we take contributes to the vast picture of the universe. Through their journey, grains of sand teach us the lessons of patience, perseverance, and never ceasing to move, even when life may seem full of challenges. So you have followed with me the journey of these grains of sand, from solid rocks to soft grains that float in the wind. But their story isn't over, for each grain is part of Earth's great geological transformation. They are not just small objects, but witnesses to the changes of the planet we live on. Each grain, though small, carries traces of the wondrous transformations you may never imagine. When you think of geological transformations, you might picture majestic mountains, peaks reaching the sky, or vast, deep valleys. But did you know that these grains of sand, these tiny creatures that seem insignificant, are the witnesses to these changes? Grains of sand are not just fragments of rocks. They are the next step in the never-ending cycle of change and rebirth on Earth. Geological movements, from powerful earthquakes to the grand collisions of tectonic plates, create profound impacts that we sometimes can't immediately see. But beneath the surface, these changes are still ongoing, and grains of sand, though small, are living proof of these events. You may not realize it, but every grain of sand you see, whether on the beach or in the desert, holds traces of the great geological events that took place millions of years ago. To understand this transformation, we need to look at the basic geological processes that create the grains of sand we see around us. Grains of sand, as mentioned before, start from solid rocks. These rocks weren't always in the shape we see today. They were once part of towering mountains, vast mountain ranges stretching thousands of miles. And throughout millions of years, these mountains underwent powerful erosion from wind and water. Each time the wind blew, each rainstorm that fell, these great boulders gradually wore down and broke into smaller pieces. Over generations of time, these once solid rocks became tiny fragments that eventually became grains of sand, flowing through rivers, reaching the vast ocean. When these grains travel through river systems, they are not just floating objects in the water, they're polished by the current, making them smoother and easier to move. These grains don't stop there. The current continues to carry them to beaches, where they meet the power of the ocean waves. The waves, with their surging force, push the grains and reshape them. This process continues endlessly, like a never-ending cycle of nature, and thus, each grain, with each wave and gust of wind, slowly changes, creating new beaches, new deserts, and continuing to shape the Earth's landscape. Grains of sand, though small, are essential in transforming the landscape of our planet. They form massive sand dunes, altering the topography of deserts. You can imagine, when the winds blow across the desert, they don't just carry the grains of sand, they create towering dunes that stretch for kilometers. These dunes are not simply products of the wind, but the result of a long process of erosion and the continuous movement of sand particles over millions of years. These grains of sand have shaped the landscapes we know today. The colossal dunes of the Sahara Desert, the beautiful beaches of California or Florida, all stand as testament to the geological shifts over time. Though tiny, these grains of sand can cause enormous changes in nature. They alter the Earth itself, changing entire ecosystems. And when you see vast stretches of sand or towering dunes in the desert, you're also witnessing a part of Earth's history, a part of the ongoing transformation of this planet. Similarly, grains of sand are witnesses to climate change and the movements of tectonic plates, the shifting of continents. Events like earthquakes or volcanic eruptions all can affect the formation and movement of sand. Grains of sand can travel thousands of miles from one place to another, changing in tandem with the Earth's transformations. And with each journey, they carry the marks of past geological events. Imagine that within each grain of sand, there might be a piece of ancient ocean sediment or remnants of land that once formed mountains, now reduced to fragments, drifting silently through time. Therefore, grains of sand are not merely inanimate objects. They are pieces of a larger story. They are witnesses to change, to the relentless upheavals of nature. We see them every day, but not everyone realizes that within each grain lies a long history, the marks of time and space. And when you're sitting by the beach, watching the waves roll in, remember that each grain of sand you touch carries a piece of Earth, of the universe, and of events you may never have known about. Thus, grains of sand are constantly moving, changing, and recreating, contributing to the magnificent natural landscapes we admire. And through this, you can also see that In the journey of each grain of sand, they play an important role in creating the world we live in. Every grain of sand is a part of life, a part of nature, and an irreplaceable part of this miraculous journey on Earth. And so, when night falls, you can allow your soul to relax and reflect on the grains of sand. They are not just small objects. They are the pieces of change, of endless journeys, and evidence of the eternal power of nature. Let each grain of sand carry you into a peaceful sleep, where you can feel the patience and strength of nature and find peace in the invisible movements of the universe. Through the stories of the formation and transformation of grains of sand, you can imagine that they are not just tiny fragments, but a part of a complex natural system with stories that you and I often overlook. But tonight, I want you to join me in exploring another aspect of the grain of sand, its life in the harsh environment of the desert. Have you ever thought about a desert, a place where everything seems still, silent, and barren? The massive sand dunes stretch infinitely, and under the scorching sun, grains of sand are like fine dust particles, silently and quietly continuing their journey. But within that harshness, grains of sand become resilient life forms, bravely overcoming every challenge. The desert, with its scorching winds and dry atmosphere, is where grains of sand showcase their patience. You can see that in each dune, each grain of sand is a witness to the changes in the environment, proof of life and existence under extreme conditions. Surely, you've imagined yourself standing in the middle of a vast desert, where the expansive and silent space makes you feel as if you're in another world, a world of stillness and challenges. This is the place where grains of sand endure, constantly adapting, constantly changing. Although the desert may seem lifeless and barren, it is actually one of the harshest yet most fascinating environments that grains of sand must face. When you think of a desert, you might picture the hot winds carrying grains of sand, lifting them into the air, changing their shape. But there's a truth. The desert is not just a place that welcomes winds, but also a place where the quiet life of grains of sand unfolds a life of small but incredibly resilient creatures. Each grain of sand in the desert must survive harsh trials, not only from the blistering heat of the sun, but also from the relentless winds that constantly change direction, blowing them to unfamiliar places, forcing them to start anew. Grains of sand in the desert are not just aimlessly drifting objects. They have a mission, a purpose of their own. It is thanks to their resilience that grains of sand become the witnesses to a world full of constant change. The desert is not always dry and silent as it may seem. Surely, you have heard of massive sandstorms, powerful storms that carry millions of grains of sand in the air, creating vast and gloomy seas of sand. The grains of sand in these storms are like nomads, never stopping, always seeking a new path, with no apparent end. But it is in these storms that grains of sand reveal their vibrancy and role in nature. Imagine the strong winds whipping up, grains of sand freed from their earthly bonds, soaring into the sky, merging with the winds to continue their journey. However, even in the midst of sandstorms, grains of sand must continue to face the harshness of the desert. The temperature can rise to unimaginable extremes. During the day, under the blistering sun, temperatures can reach 50 degrees Celsius, making the air suffocating and parched. But at night, when the sun sets, the temperature drops rapidly, sometimes falling below freezing. These extreme shifts create a challenging environment for every living thing in the desert. Grains of sand must endure the scorching heat during the day and the bone-chilling cold at night, all while continuing to move and change shape. It is this endurance and adaptability of grains of sand that creates a miracle, allowing them to survive and become witnesses to the transformative process of nature. Grains of sand in the desert are not just inanimate objects. They are important factors in shaping the desert landscape. You can imagine the wind carrying them, creating large sand dunes. These dunes are not just lifeless piles of sand. They are the peaks of natural creativity, the result of millions of years of wind movement and other elements at work. Sand dunes are structures that change continuously, with shapes and sizes that evolve as the wind moves them. This is why the desert is never still. It is always in motion, always changing, even if everything around seems to be at rest. But the most miraculous thing is that, despite such harsh conditions, the desert can still be a home for living creatures. Grains of sand, though seemingly lifeless, are crucial in maintaining the ecosystem in this environment. Small creatures like insects, sparse plants, and even larger animals like camels all depend on grains of sand to survive. Cacti can grow from the desert, clinging to grains of sand for support. Despite the scarcity of water, animals like desert leopards or eagles must navigate between the sand dunes, seeking shelter, food, and water, all dependent on the movement of grains of sand and changes in the land. In the harshness of the desert, grains of sand are not only witnesses, but also the creators of life. And whenever night falls, as you lie down and prepare to drift into sleep, you can imagine the still dunes in the desert, grains of sand continuing their journey, overcoming challenges, accepting constant change, becoming part of nature. Grains of sand in the desert, though appearing lifeless, carry long stories of resilience and survival through hardship. As you drift off to sleep, let the image of these desert grains of sand inspire you, reminding you of the patience and strength to overcome life's challenges. Though small, grains of sand can be the silent heroes in the harshness of nature. When we close our eyes and imagine a beach at dawn, we don't just see the waves rolling onto the shore, but we can also feel a subtle movement, something very delicate happening right before our eyes. That is the movement of the wind. The wind, with its invisible strength, not only carries leaves or bends tree branches, but also carries grains of sand on their journey. You can imagine a cool breeze blowing, carrying grains of sand from one place to another, bringing along stories, marks, and memories of time. The wind and grains of sand, like companions, always dance together in an endless waltz. Let's continue to explore how the wind and grains of sand share this miraculous connection. The wind, though invisible, is one of the most important factors in the life of grains of sand. Thanks to the wind, grains of sand not only move but also change shape, contributing to the creation of the extraordinary landscapes we know, like deserts, beaches, and towering sand dunes. Each gust of wind doesn't just change the shape of the dunes, it also tells a story, carrying with it the memories and journeys of grains of sand from one place to another. And when you see a sand dune, you don't just see earth and sand, you see the story of nature, a story written by the wind and the sand. These layers of sand are formed through a slow but continuous process. A grain of sand may have once been part of a mountain, where it endured the immense pressure of geological forces, or part of sedimentary layers formed by ancient rivers, and over millions of years, through the power of wind and water, these grains of sand were released, carried through time and space, and eventually came to rest here, beneath your feet, on the beach, in the desert. Each grain of sand is a long journey, an endless movement through time, carrying the marks of the past, of worlds that have long since vanished. Sand is not just a trace of erosion, it is also proof of the Earth's unceasing transformation. You can see, when you step on the sand, each of your steps leaves a mark on a part of history. These grains of sand didn't just come from distant places. They may have traveled across various landscapes, from ancient lands to new territories, and every time they move, they carry a part of historical stories. The traces of time are not only found in ancient tombs or temples, but also in these grains of sand. They are living proof of Earth's changes, the great migrations of tectonic plates, and the climate shifts that have occurred over millions of years. What's fascinating is that, thanks to the movement and changes of sand, we can learn much about Earth's history. Geologists study sand layers to understand past events, the climate of different periods. These layers of sand may be the result of a glacial cold period, or the marks of times of intense warming, when oceans and climates shifted. Over time, sand has recorded signs of life and death, of Earth's continuous transformation. And when you see the grains of sand beneath your feet, you're not just standing on the Earth, you're standing on history. These grains of sand have witnessed millions of years of change and upheaval. They have lived through eras and periods that we can't even imagine. Each grain of sand is a small stone in the vast puzzle of Earth. As you walk, you're not just walking on sand, you're walking through time, through the marks of upheavals, the changes that have occurred. So, every time you walk along the beach or stand in the desert, remember that beneath your feet lies a treasure trove of memories. These grains of sand are not just inanimate objects, they are pieces of the past, living witnesses to time. And when you gaze at them, you're also seeing a part of the universe, of unspoken stories, of endless journeys. Sand, through millions of years, has shown us that everything, no matter how small, has a role in creating the grand story of Earth. These grains of sand are the marks of time, proof of nature's eternal existence. Thus, we have gone through the long journey of the grain of sand from its formation, its movement, to the traces of time it carries. But there is one more wonder you may not have thought about. Inside every grain of sand, no matter how tiny, there could be a vibrant, mysterious world. Beneath the smooth surface of sand, there are microscopic creatures, small beings you can't see with the naked eye. Yet they play a crucial role in sustaining life. Imagine that beneath the sand's surface, life quietly exists, just like small creatures living in a miniature, separate world, which only those who know how to listen can truly appreciate. Join me as we continue this journey, exploring the microscopic life within grains of sand and understanding how they contribute to the natural ecosystem. When you think about grains of sand, you may only see them as lifeless fragments lying still under the sunlight. But in their microscopic world, tiny creatures exist. They live in the gaps between grains of sand, creating a special and vibrant ecosystem. This is a world where each grain of sand is not just sand but a home for small creatures, an irreplaceable part of nature's ecological chain. These microscopic creatures not only survive but play an important role in maintaining the biological balance of their environment. These creatures are primarily bacteria, fungi, algae, and other single-celled organisms. Although they can't be seen with the naked eye, they are an essential part of life beneath the sand. For example, bacteria can live in damp sand gaps, absorbing nutrients from the surrounding environment, decomposing organic matter, and converting it into essential nutrients for other creatures. Thanks to these bacteria, life in the desert, despite being dry and barren, can still exist. Alongside the bacteria, Fungi also inhabit the microscopic world of sand. They thrive in dry conditions and are crucial in breaking down organic materials. These fungi not only decompose dead matter, but also form networks that support other organisms, thereby helping to sustain the ecosystem in desert or coastal environments. Though they are not easily visible, these organisms work quietly in each grain of sand, contributing to life and nature's regeneration. Additionally, algae can also grow in grains of sand, particularly in areas with higher humidity, such as coastal regions. These organisms are an essential part of the food chain in the microscopic ecosystem, as they are the primary source of nutrients for smaller creatures like crustaceans or insects living in the sand. Algae use sunlight to photosynthesize, produce oxygen, and provide energy for other organisms, functioning like tiny factories, constantly working to sustain life in this dry environment. These microscopic creatures, though small, play an extremely important role in maintaining life and supporting the development of entire ecosystems in deserts and beaches. You can see, grains of sand are not just tiny stones, but dynamic homes where microscopic life exists and thrives. In each grain, there could be thousands or millions of creatures silently working together, creating a harmonious existence, inseparable from nature. This is one of nature's miracles, where life exists not just on the surface but beneath the sand, in tiny spaces we might never consider. You may never see them, but these microscopic creatures play a massive role in maintaining the biological balance of these environments. They decompose organic matter, provide food for other organisms, and contribute to the food chain in nature. When you stand on the sand, you might think you're simply walking on lifeless sand, but in reality, beneath each step, there could be thousands of living creatures working and contributing to the balance of the surrounding environment. Another miracle is that these organisms do not just exist by chance. They have adapted to the harsh environments of the desert and beaches. In a water-scarce environment where temperatures fluctuate from scorching heat to freezing cold, these creatures have developed incredible survival strategies. For example, many bacteria and fungi survive in dry conditions by absorbing moisture from the air or from the fragile sand grains that still hold a bit of water. Algae can develop in tiny pools of water where sunlight reaches, creating life in a small yet thriving space. You can see that in this microscopic world, each grain of sand is not just part of a large natural ecosystem, but also a home for millions of organisms. Each organism has its unique role in maintaining life. Grains of sand have become part of nature's cycle, where everything is interconnected, and their existence is essential in maintaining the balance of Earth. So, when you see grains of sand on the beach or in the desert, remember that each grain is not simply a lifeless piece of land. It is part of a vibrant world, a world where microscopic life grows, changes, and harmonizes with nature. These tiny creatures are the protectors, the maintainers of balance, and irreplaceable pieces in the vast ecological puzzle we live in. And as you sleep, you can imagine that beneath every step on the sand, there are millions of microscopic creatures living, silently creating life in the stillness of the night. Now, as we have listened to the stories of microscopic life in grains of sand, the movement of sand grains through deserts and beaches, imagine this. Grains of sand are not just inanimate objects. They also have another special role in nature. They are tools for storing information. Just like a book that keeps the memory of time, grains of sand record traces of climate, of environmental changes over millions of years. And if you imagine that each grain of sand you see under the sun Every massive sand dune in the desert could tell you stories about the Earth's past. That is a wonder few can imagine. Sand, although small and often overlooked in the grand landscapes of nature, holds countless details about the history of this planet. Scientists, through sand analysis, have been able to read stories about time, climate shifts, and even geological events that occurred millions of years ago. You may have never thought that such a small, smooth grain of sand could contain a vast treasure trove of information, but in fact, each grain of sand is a remarkable tool for recording nature's marks. Sand is not just a product of erosion from rocks and organic materials. These grains, through time and their movement, have carried with them traces of the environments they've passed through. For instance, in sand layers near the coast, you can find minerals characteristic of the ocean, impurities, and silt particles from rivers. These minerals are not random. They reflect the exact composition of the regions the sand has traveled through, as well as the climate at that time. Each grain of sand is a natural biological record, capturing the details of the period in which it appeared. Much like we record history through books and documents, this is not only helpful in studying the Earth's past, but also assists scientists in understanding present and future climate phenomena. By analyzing the chemical composition and structure of sand, experts can determine climate changes in the past, such as dry or glacial periods, and draw valuable lessons for the climate changes we face today. Sand records these changes, and once we learn how to read them, we can gain a deeper understanding of the great events in Earth's history. Not only are they indicators of climate, but grains of sand are also witnesses to important geological events. When tectonic plates move and create fractures, when volcanoes erupt, or when rivers change course, sand becomes the medium to record these changes. Geologists have used sand layers to determine the age of sediment layers, thus recreating the history of mountain ranges, oceans, and ecosystems on Earth. Grains of sand are not just the end product of erosion, but also the result of powerful forces beneath the Earth's surface. Scientists can find specific minerals in sand that can only form in certain environments. For example, minerals like zircon, which is found in ancient sand layers, help researchers determine the age of those sands, even tracing back to Earth's early formation. This not only helps us understand the age of sand grains, but also opens stories about the formation of continents, about how Earth has changed over millions of years. Each grain of sand, each layer of sand, is a living history book of the planet, recording all the changes we can't see in the brief time of our lives. Sand, therefore, is not just a part of nature's scenery, but also a tool that helps us understand the past, the constant transformation of our planet. Grains of sand are silent witnesses, holding within them the unspoken stories of Earth. What we call sand is actually a priceless treasure, holding within it history, climate, and events that have changed the world around us. And when we stop, sit by the beach or in the desert, remember that beneath each grain of sand could be stories that only nature can tell. Stories we can listen to with each gentle step on the earth. Have you ever stopped and wondered, where do the grains of sand on the beach you see today come from? Or have they traveled a long, arduous journey, crossing vast oceans before resting on the sand where you stand? Join me as we follow the footsteps of these grains of sand on their journey across the oceans to discover what they carry with them and how each tiny grain of sand contributes to creating the beautiful landscapes of nature that we love. Each grain of sand, once formed by the erosion of rock, begins a long and fascinating journey through rivers, vast seas, and sometimes across expansive oceans. Sand never rests quietly. When carried by water, wind, or other natural forces, it embarks on an endless journey, seeking a new stopping point where it can form a new dune, a new beach. The journey of a grain of sand through the oceans is not just a simple trip. It is an unceasing motion, each bend in the path carrying stories, traces of the environment and conditions it encounters. Before grains of sand can stop at the beach, they must go through a very long journey. A grain of sand may begin on high mountain peaks, where rocks slowly break down into smaller pieces due to the forces of wind and water. These grains will gradually drift along rivers, sometimes passing through forests, valleys, and plains. Eventually, they are carried into the flow of large rivers, along with millions of years' worth of accumulated rocks and soil, beginning their journey toward the sea. Rivers carry sand from inland areas into the ocean, forming coastal sands, where each grain of sand continues its journey. The river currents carry sand, causing the grains to move quickly. The tiny grains cannot control their trajectory, and they are swept away by powerful currents, sometimes traveling hundreds or thousands of miles. And then, when the river flows into the sea, the sand isn't lost, it gets scattered everywhere. The waves gently wash over them, continuously pushing the sand ashore, forming the beautiful beaches we see. These beaches are not places where sand simply rests. They are where the sand continues its journey, where it can change shape, form new dunes, and contribute to the creation of natural landscapes. Sand doesn't only change when it's in the water. Every time a strong wave hits the shore, the sand moves, forming new dunes on the beach. The waves constantly alter the structure of the beach, deforming the dunes, making them softer, or sometimes piling them up into strange shapes, so that sand becomes an essential part of creating beach landscapes. The beach is not just a quiet place, but a living picture, a place where nature is constantly changing, where sand continues to play a vital role in maintaining the change of ecosystems. Therefore, the journey of sand through the oceans is not just the movement of an inanimate object. It is a continuous process, part of a larger natural cycle that humans can't fully perceive. Sand may start its journey in distant places and end up on vast beaches, where it continues its work in shaping the beauty of nature. However, what's remarkable is that throughout this journey, sand is never alone. It constantly interacts with other natural elements, water, wind, waves, and living creatures within coastal ecosystems. Sand, in its journey, not only carries minerals and materials from the lands it passes through, it is also part of the marine ecosystem, where living creatures in the water use sand to create shelter. Small creatures like crabs, crustaceans, and even larger creatures like seabirds all depend on sand to live. Thus, sand is not just a physical object. It is a crucial part of life within an entire ecosystem. And when you stop, stand on a beach, and watch the sand slip through your fingers, you can feel the connection between all these natural elements. Each grain of sand tells a story of a journey across the oceans, of the unceasing changes of nature. Sand carries not only the marks of the land, but is also a testament to life, to the interactions between creatures and the environment, to the unending journey that nature always creates. The journey of sand through the oceans is not just a trip. It is a journey through time, through constant motion and change. And every grain of sand, no matter how small, is an irreplaceable part of the story of this earth. It is not just a material object, but a part of the grand picture in which we all live. These grains of sand, each time they move across the oceans and beaches, continue to create new stories about the movement of nature, about the connections of all things in this universe. So, each time you stand on the beach, watching the waves roll in and let the grains of sand slip through your hands, remember that it is part of the grand journey that nature is still continuing to write. Every grain of sand is not just a small piece of sand. It is a part of a vast world of constant changes, of stories about life that nature is forever telling. Sand is the living witness of this process, and each grain, though small, carries a part of the endless story. The journey of sand through the oceans is amazing, isn't it? But its life does not just happen on the beach or amid the waves. Sand has another home, a place where each grain plays a role in creating a unique landscape, a place you might not think about often. The desert. Imagine, when night falls, a soft breeze gently sweeps across the towering dunes, creating soft shapes that change constantly. You'll see that, in that silence, sand becomes an important agent in transforming the desert landscape, forming strange shapes, turning the desert from a barren land into a beautiful scene, full of life in its own way. Sand in the desert is not just lifeless dust. It is a piece of a larger puzzle, creating huge dunes that change the landscape with every gust of wind. It is these dunes that make the desert come alive, even though on the outside, everything seems still. Sand, with its continuous movement, not only changes the shape of the desert, but also creates mysterious natural paintings that we can feel with every step we take. So, when you think about the desert, you might not imagine that it is the tiny grains of sand that have completely changed the image of such a vast land, creating beautiful landscapes. In the desert, sand is not just the result of wind and waves. It is a powerful force, causing astonishing changes. Dunes in the desert are never still. They always change shape, creating strange structures that evolve every day, every hour. Dunes can rise as high as tens of meters, and their transformation is even more powerful than we could ever imagine. The grains of sand are carried by the wind, forming new sand sheets, creating soft curves and peaks that rise and fall continuously. And though no one sees this process, in reality, sand is continuously transforming the desert landscape, creating a vibrant cycle that nature is still painting. Each dune in the desert has its own unique story. You can imagine that these dunes are like works of art created by nature's hand. The wind blows through, carrying the small grains of sand, and then each dune forms and changes its shape as the wind shifts. You might not immediately see this process, but imagine that if we could track these dunes over time, we would see a constantly changing picture, constantly evolving. The dunes are like waves lapping at the shore, carrying stories and memories of the desert, weaving a beautiful tapestry under the sun. What's miraculous here is that, although sand may be swept away and constantly changing, it is this change that creates the striking landscapes of the desert. A barren land like the desert, when involving sand, turns into a place that can hold mystery and extraordinary beauty. Every dune is not only part of the landscape, but a symbol of life, of an unending cycle created by nature. Sand never stops moving, never stops creating new shapes, bringing a lively image to the desert. Sand in the desert is not just part of the ecosystem, it is also a key factor in sustaining life in such a harsh environment. Beneath every dune, even though you can't see it, life is hidden. Animals like camels, snakes, or insects can find shelter in the sand gaps, in the thin layers of sand beneath the surface. Sand plays an important role in protecting these creatures from the burning heat of the desert. It helps create cooler spaces beneath the ground where these animals can find life, escaping the harshness of the external environment. One interesting thing is that while we think of the desert as a dry, lifeless place, it is actually sand that plays a key role in creating life in this environment. Sand helps retain moisture, create shelter, and allows creatures to adapt to this arid environment. The ecosystem in the desert, although limited in life, is incredibly diverse and miraculous. Plants like cacti, though they can survive dry conditions, also rely on the support of sand to grow and maintain life. Thus, sand is not just tiny stones, it is a part of the ecosystem, a source of life in such a harsh environment. When you step into the desert, you may feel an unusually peaceful atmosphere, where there is no noisy sound, only the dunes gently shifting with each gust of wind. In this space, sand is not just part of the landscape, it is part of the rhythm of life. Every dune changes. Every breeze that blows through shows you that life continues, constantly moving, even when everything seems to be asleep. And when you gaze at the dunes in the desert, remember that beneath that sand is a world full of life, full of stories that the sand and the wind have created. Each grain of sand is part of the grand journey that nature has made, helping to transform the desert landscape, creating beautiful, mysterious scenes that we often fail to notice. Sand is the silent witness to these miraculous transformations. As the night falls and the dim light of the dunes fades, only the silence remains. The dunes have changed their shape all day, and now they lie still, calm, but they continue to live, continue to change, and when the dawn arrives, these dunes will begin their journey again, continuing to paint the ever-changing picture of the desert, forming new shapes and soft curves under the sun. Sand never stops moving, and it is this change that creates the miraculous beauty of nature. We have gone together through the journey of the grains of sand, from the desert to the ocean, witnessing the transformation of landscapes and the microscopic life in the sand. However, there is one major factor that cannot be overlooked in the story of sand: the impact of humans. Grains of sand not only move, change, and carry the marks of nature, but they also face the changes created by us. Human activities, from resource extraction to construction and development, have had widespread effects on the journey and role of sand in ecosystems. Sand, originally a natural product of erosion and movement through time, has existed for millions of years, becoming an essential part of Earth's motions. But today, humans are having a profound impact on this natural process, with increasing demands for construction and development. The extraction of sand for building materials, glass production, and infrastructure projects worldwide has greatly increased. Every year, billions of tons of sand are removed from beaches, rivers, and deserts, creating significant environmental impacts and disrupting the ecosystems in which sand plays an irreplaceable role. One of the most noticeable effects is the extraction of sand from beaches and rivers. Sand is not just a construction material, it is also an important part of coastal ecosystems. Creatures like crabs, snails, and other marine animals depend on sand for living and feeding. When sand is over-extracted, their habitats degrade, coastal ecosystems are disturbed, and biodiversity is reduced. Moreover, sand extraction also changes the structure of beaches and riverbeds. Rivers, which once transported sand and created new beaches, now face sand shortages. This can lead to riverbank erosion, the loss of beaches and natural dunes, and serious changes in landscapes, disrupting Earth's natural processes. Every time a beach erodes, not only is the habitat of living creatures affected, but even humans are impacted, as beaches are home to many communities and are significant tourist destinations. However, human impact on sand doesn't stop at extraction. Construction activities also deeply affect natural sand landscapes. Projects such as bridges, roads, and coastal resorts require vast amounts of sand. But while the demand for sand is growing, natural sand supplies are rapidly depleting. This has led to increasingly widespread and enduring sand extraction, seriously affecting the sustainable development of ecosystems and communities. Sand is not just extracted, it is also altered by urban development. Coastal cities, where construction projects rise rapidly, also create changes in the distribution and structure of natural dunes. Coastal development projects, landfills, and beach reclamation reduce the area of natural sand, making it impossible for ecosystems to thrive as they once did. This not only impacts the creatures living in the sand, but also harms marine species that depend on sand for survival. Furthermore, climate change also contributes to altering the form of beaches and natural dunes. Rising sea levels, increasing storm frequency and intensity all have a powerful effect on the existence of sand beaches. Beaches, which once served as natural protectors for ecosystems, are eroding quickly, and dunes are not spared from this change. This forces desert, beach, and wetland communities to face greater challenges, and all of us are witnessing the profound changes in nature that we cannot ignore. The grain of sand, though small and often overlooked in our daily lives, is an indispensable part of the grand stories about the existence of the Earth. The impacts of humans not only alter the form of the sand dunes, but they also destroy the natural protective layers that sand creates for the environment. When we extract sand excessively without proper consideration, we are not just taking a part of nature, we are also disrupting the delicate balance between ecosystems. Sand, though a small part of nature's landscape, holds great power in sustaining life and transforming the appearance of our planet. Over millions of years, sand has proven that, while part of a natural ecosystem, it can also become an important tool in maintaining sustainable development. However, without proper protection and management, sand extraction can lead to unforeseen consequences that not only affect nature, but also impact human lives. When you think about a grain of sand, remember that it is not merely a simple building material. It is part of the earth, a witness to the fluctuations of nature, and a crucial factor in sustaining life. Despite its small size, each grain of sand carries a significant responsibility for life and the transformation of this planet. So, every time you see the dunes on the beach or in the desert, remember that they are not just the result of the wind, the movement of nature, but also the story of existence, of the never-ending changes of the world we live in. And in the stillness of the night, as you prepare to fall asleep, let the image of these grains of sand gently continue their journey. Even though you may no longer see them, we have followed the great journeys of grains of sand through deserts, seas, and rivers, witnessing their continuous transformations under the effects of wind, water, and humans. But in this journey, there is another powerful and increasingly visible factor: climate change. When we think about climate, we often imagine storms, strong winds, but in reality, it is climate change that is reshaping the sand dunes, changing the shape of the beaches, and even the ecosystems they nurture. Sand is not just a witness of the past, it is now becoming a living indicator of the transformations we are witnessing at this very moment. Climate change is not a distant concept. It is a reality we live in every day. It not only affects temperature or rainfall, but also changes how sand dunes move, alters the structure of beaches and deserts, and even affects the life within these lands. Each grain of sand, though tiny, is a living testament to this climate change. Let's explore how these changes have impacted the grains of sand and how these effects impact us. Grains of sand naturally move under the influence of wind and water. But when the climate changes, the speed and direction of sand movement also change. For example, when temperatures rise, desert areas become drier, and winds tend to become stronger, causing the sand to move faster and further. Dunes, which had been stable for millions of years, may now change shape quickly, forming new shapes, higher peaks, or deeper cracks. These changes can cause coastal erosion or alter cultivated lands, affecting the environment for humans and animals. Climate change also affects rainfall in desert and coastal areas. When rainfall decreases, the land becomes drier, and when more rain falls, storms can sweep away sand, eroding beaches and changing the shape of dunes. Coastal areas, once protected by sand dunes, may now face more severe erosion. Sandstorms, which were once just natural phenomena, have become stronger, sweeping away millions of tons of sand, changing the landscape and ecosystems of these areas. This may create new lands, but could also lead to significant loss of resources and living creatures. Furthermore, climate change also affects the living organisms within these ecosystems. When the dunes change, they don't just affect the landscape, but also impact the animals, plants, and microorganisms that live there. Animals such as lizards, snakes, or insects rely on these sand areas to find food and shelter. When dunes move too quickly, they may destroy the habitats of these creatures, forcing them to migrate or even cease to exist in the changing environment. Plants, too, may be severely affected, especially cacti or drought-tolerant species in the desert. These changes create a closed loop, where environmental changes affect life, and life continues to alter the environment. Climate change also contributes to altering wind patterns. Wind, the primary force moving sand across land, is now influenced by stronger storms and shifts in the atmosphere. Desert areas may experience increasingly intense sandstorms, sweeping away layers of sand and creating larger dunes, but also causing rapid erosion in other areas. This not only affects ecosystems but also communities that depend on the land and sand. People living in deserts or coastal regions now face the harsh changes in nature that they cannot control. So what can we do to reduce the impacts of climate change on sand and these ecosystems? One of the most important things is to recognize our impact on the environment and then take measures to protect and restore damaged ecosystems. Controlling sand extraction, protecting beaches, and preserving wetland areas are essential to safeguarding natural sand dunes, maintaining the stability of dunes, and protecting life within these ecosystems. Sustainable farming practices that help retain soil moisture and prevent erosion are also crucial solutions to protect the environment for sand and the creatures living within it. In addition, we must enhance research on climate change and its impact on sand ecosystems. Understanding these natural processes helps us find suitable solutions to maintain the balance of nature, while minimizing the negative effects on the environment. And humans, protecting sand is not just about protecting a small part of an ecosystem. It's about protecting a part of our very lives. With each gust of wind blowing across a dune, with each wave lapping the shore, we not only see physical changes, but also realize a shift in how we face nature. Climate change is happening, and while we cannot reverse all of it, we can choose how we live and act to mitigate its impacts. Every action to protect nature is a step towards safeguarding the grains of sand, preserving life, and this planet. So, when you walk along the beach, watching the dunes change under the wind's influence, remember that it is part of life, part of nature's ceaseless transformation. These grains of sand, though small, play a vital role in maintaining life and environmental stability. And in the stillness of the night, as you prepare to fall asleep, let the images of the grains of sand continue their journey through time, even though they may change, but will always exist as a part of the eternal nature. We have explored together the marvelous journey of grains of sand through deserts, beaches, and oceans. Though tiny, these grains of sand carry stories of time, traces of Earth's continuous transformation. And one more thing I want you to feel with me is the movement of time through each grain of sand. They are not just fragments of rock, but living witnesses of change. Sand reflects not only what has passed, but also testifies to the continuous movement of the universe. When you gaze at the dunes in the desert or the sands by the beach, you can feel that time seems to pass in each grain of sand. A grain of sand may be inanimate, but it has a special ability to capture and reflect the ever-changing world. Each time the wind blows, each time the wave hits the shore, each time the sun sets, the sand changes shape, forming new curves, higher peaks, making the surrounding space more vibrant than ever. And in these changes, you will see that sand is not just a worthless material, but a great storyteller, silent yet powerful. Each grain of sand carries its own journey, a continuous movement through space and time. Sand never stands still, and it is this constant movement that makes each grain of sand a witness to Earth's transformation. A grain of sand doesn't only carry the story of storms, wind, and water, but also the traces of time, traces of millions of years of upheaval, of historical events that we can't immediately feel. Time in each grain of sand is an incredibly interesting story. Sand, from when it was formed from large rocks, has gone through millions of years of movement, erosion, and being swept away by natural elements. Each grain of sand you see today might have once been part of a high mountain, slowly eroded over time, then carried by rivers, out to the sea, and back to shore. With each step, each wave, sand changes shape. But in those movements, it preserves the traces of the past. A grain of sand, though small, has the ability to remember all the changes of the earth over millions of years. So, how can sand carry stories of time? The answer lies in its continuous movement and unceasing change. When a grain of sand falls to the ground, when a dune is formed by the wind's strength, that's when time is recorded. Sand not only reflects the present, but also preserves the past. You can imagine that every time the wind blows over a dune, every time the wave hits the shore, it is a sign of change, of the continuity of time. Sand becomes a medium to perceive time, not just through geological upheavals, but also through the impacts of humans and nature. You may not realize it, but each grain of sand is a part of the endless movement of the universe. A grain of sand doesn't stand still. It is always moving, changing, and adapting to its surroundings. Through each change, sand is not just a simple material, but a part of the story of time. A story that never turns back, but always leaves its mark on monumental events of the past. Sand is not only proof of Earth's movements, but also a part of the flow of time in our own lives. Each day passes, Each hour goes by, and we are all swept along by time, just like grains of sand in the desert, in the ocean, and in rivers. Time, like sand, never returns. Sand, in its movement, is a reminder to us that time always flows, and we can only perceive the past through the traces it leaves behind. Every time the wind blows across a dune, every time the waves hit the shore, time is written into the sand. Each dune, each grain of sand is not just a part of space, but also a part of history, of the stories that nature has written over millions of years. Time is recorded in the soft shapes of sand, in the high peaks of dunes, and in their unceasing movement. Sand is also a way for us to feel the changes of the world. Each grain of sand, each dune, may represent changes in life, from monumental events to the small transformations we don't immediately notice. Sand is not just crude material, it is a part of the universe, a part of the never-ending change of nature and time. A grain of sand, though tiny and simple, is an important part of the grand picture of this universe. And when you walk along the beach or stand in the desert, watching the dunes change, remember that you are seeing time pass, not just through the dunes, but through our own lives. These grains of sand are living traces of time, proof of change, the continuous movement of this world. So, when you relax late at night, let the images of the grains of sand in the desert, on the beach, drift through your mind. Each grain of sand is a part of time, a part of the world we cannot fully see, but can feel through its gentle movements. Sand, in its movement, not only reflects time, but is also a part of the endless movement of this universe. When we look at the grains of sand, we might see them as tiny, inanimate objects. But if we pause for a moment and reflect, we will realize that these grains of sand are not just a part of nature, but also carry profound lessons from the cultures and philosophies of civilizations. They are not just small parts of the earth, but symbols of great meaning in history and in the way humans perceive the world around them. Sand, with its smallness, contains reflections on life, patience, and the eternity of nature. In Eastern cultures, grains of sand are also symbols of humility. A grain of sand, though tiny, exemplifies patience and perseverance as it silently drifts through space, serving as proof of enduring existence. We can compare sand to human life. Though each individual is a small part of the grand tapestry of the universe, everyone has the ability to make an impact, to leave their own mark, however small, on the operation of the world. A single grain of sand may be unseen, but when millions of grains come together, they form beautiful beaches or massive sand dunes, proof of unity and the power of small things. This is a lesson about the value of each individual within a community. In many ancient stories, sand also carries lessons about perseverance. You may recall the story of how grains of sand were used to build wonders, creating great structures. In ancient civilizations like Egypt, sand was not just dirt or a building material, but a factor in constructing statues and pyramids that have lasted for thousands of years. These structures, though built from sand, carry the eternity of a civilization within them. Sand represents perseverance, the step-by-step building process, however small, that leads to monumental achievements, not only in Eastern cultures, but in Western religions. Sand also plays an important symbolic role. In the Bible, sand is mentioned many times, especially in stories about time and infinity. The story of Abraham and his descendants is compared to the number of grains of sand on the shore, a powerful image representing the endless nature of love and life. Here, Sand is not just about infinite numbers, but also symbolizes continuity, the values that never end. A grain of sand, though small, holds the power of eternity. The values passed down through generations. In Western philosophy, particularly in the thoughts of philosophers like Heraclitus, sand is used to symbolize the constant change of the universe. Heraclitus once said, "You can never step into the same river twice," implying that everything changes. Nothing stays the same forever. Sand, with its continuous movement, is a perfect illustration of the transformation of all things in the universe. Sand cannot stop, much like the flow of time, always moving and changing. In this change, the universe exists and evolves. Moreover, sand is often used in lessons about patience in life. You can observe that a dune is formed from tiny grains of sand. Over years and years, through each gust of wind and passage of time, it is the persistence of these small grains of sand that create the great dunes, the vast landscapes. This teaches us that, although our goals may seem distant and difficult, persistence and continuous effort will lead us to success, just as small grains of sand contribute to the creation of massive sand dunes. So, have you ever thought that these tiny grains of sand carry life lessons? Whether in Eastern or Western cultures, whether in ancient stories or modern philosophy, sand always symbolizes profound values about change, persistence, and impermanence. These grains of sand, though small and easily overlooked, can carry important lessons about patience, change, and the infinity of the universe. Therefore, every time you see a grain of sand, whether on a beach, in the desert, or in a small garden, remember that they are not just inanimate objects. Each grain of sand holds a piece of philosophy, life lessons, eternity, change, and patience. Sand, in its smallness, carries the infinite power of nature, the universe, and of ourselves in our journey through life. When we look at grains of sand, we may only see tiny, inanimate objects. But as I've shared with you, sand is not so simple. Each grain of sand, no matter how small, carries the stories of nature, time, and life itself. From its formation deep within the earth, to its journey through wind, waves, rivers, and its resting place on beaches or deserts. Sand is not just part of the land, it is part of history, part of the great natural events we can only notice through the traces it leaves behind. But the most miraculous thing is that, through each grain of sand, we can learn life lessons about patience, change, and eternity. In the journey of sand, every small change, every movement, though unseen by most, carries meaning. Similarly, every change in our lives, no matter how big or small, whether immediately recognized or not, has value. These are lessons that each of us can take, whether in challenges or in peaceful, quiet moments. Just like the grains of sand, we too are always changing, always learning, and through that, creating our own journey. Sand teaches us about persistence. A dune does not form overnight. It is created over millions of years, through layers of small grains of sand accumulating. Likewise, in life, great achievements often don't come easily. We must persevere, step by step, to build what is important. Remember that each small step can make a significant difference in the future. Just as each grain of sand accumulates to form massive dunes, sand also teaches us about fluctuation and impermanence. Every grain of sand, whether on the beach or in the desert, undergoes constant changes. It is swept away, reshaped, and never stands still. This reflects one of the most important life lessons. Everything changes, and we must learn to accept that change. While we may feel confused or fearful of change, fluctuation is an essential part of life, helping us grow and learn. Just like the grains of sand, we need to learn to adapt, find peace in life's transitions. Most importantly, sand teaches us about eternity and rebirth. A grain of sand never disappears. It only changes form, from one dune to another, from one desert to a beach. Sand is a symbol of nature's immortality. Our lives are like that too. No matter how many difficulties or challenges we face, we can always be reborn, find new strength, and continue our journey. What we do today, the lessons we learn, will always stay with us, helping us grow and continue to build good things in life. When you continue to look at the grains of sand, you will also realize that they are not just inanimate objects. Each grain of sand, though tiny, carries within it the story of patience, change, and immortality. Sand, through its constant movement, is proof of a world we cannot fully see, but can feel through our own experiences in life. Finally, when night falls, when the light dims, and everything becomes quiet, you can imagine the grains of sand continuing their journey. They move through time and space, and with each gust of wind, each wave that rolls in, they continue contributing to the great picture of the universe. Like those grains of sand, our lives are in constant motion. Every change, every challenge, is a necessary step to create our own journey. And when you drift off to sleep, let the images of the grains of sand in the night relax you as part of the eternal rhythm of life, peaceful and serene. Thank you for walking with me through the journey of the grains of sand, through time and the stories they carry. I hope you will take these valuable lessons from sand into your own life. And when you wake up tomorrow, you will see new opportunities, just like the grains of sand waiting to create new stories, new journeys. I wish you a peaceful sleep and beautiful dreams. You may now close your eyes and let these thoughts fade like mist. If your mind still wants to wander, let it continue its journey to the next video, where we'll dive deeper into the mysteries of the soul. But if your body is tired, let this sound lull you into sleep. No need to force it, just breathe. And remember, everything you seek is already within you.